Oh my gosh, it was incredible to watch Donald Trump's reaction to Vice President Kamala Harris's inaugural address. Instead of responding to criticism from both Democrats and Republicans with any semblance of civility or maturity, he went into a full-blown meltdown. Can you believe it? Trump went on Truth Social and in a display of irritability, posted the same angry criticism 59 times. It's almost surreal to think that a former president could resort to such an obsessive, childish outburst. But the absurdity didn't stop there. No, Trump then dialed into Fox News, where he delivered a rambling and incoherent retort that sounded more like the frantic musings of someone completely disconnected from reality than a measured political response. It was as if he was desperately trying to assert control, but only succeeded in showing just how rattled and unhinged he had become. What does this spectacle say about Trump's state of mind? His response seems to underscore a troubling inability to handle criticism or dissent, resorting instead to baseless accusations and wild rants. The sheer audacity and defensiveness of his reactions only serve to highlight how disconnected he is from the reality of his situation and the issues at hand.
Barack Hussein Obama. He was nasty to me. You know, he was nasty. Michelle was nasty. They're all nasty. Nasty people. Kamala mentioned my name, I think, 21 times. She didn't mention the border. She didn't mention inflation. She didn't mention anything but my name over and over and over again.
Trump's obsession with her constantly mentioning him while ignoring the core issues she discussed is insane. The way he kept saying disgusting over and over again was childish and pathetic. How could a former president be so consumed by his own ego? It is puzzling to think that Trump cannot look beyond personal grievances to address serious political issues. His desperate attempt to deflect by claiming Harris didn't address important topics like the border and inflation is completely ridiculous. It's like he's completely out of touch with reality. And let's not forget the sheer absurdity of him missing the part where they teach people how to pronounce Kamala's name correctly. The level of ignorance and presumption is truly mind-boggling. How can anyone take him seriously when he is so obsessed with having his own name mentioned, instead of addressing the real problems facing the country? It is truly shocking and extremely frustrating to witness such petty attitudes from someone who once held the highest office in the country.
Oh, Donald Trump, look at the graininess of it all. I am very struck by the fact that Donald Trump seemed quite disturbed by Vice President Harris's remarks, so much so that he called into Fox News after the fact, and he was beeping the cheek on the phone. I'll let y'all listen to it, and we'll chat on the other side.
The grainy, almost unwatchable quality of Donald Trump's appearance on Fox News is just one more piece of the absurd puzzle. Seriously, did they not even invest in decent Wi-Fi for the rally? The technical difficulties mirror the chaos and disarray of Trump's own response. Could it be that his financial issues, compounded by his mounting legal troubles, are starting to show? I'm genuinely stunned by how rattled Trump seemed after Vice President Harris's remarks. The way he called into Fox News, stumbling through a disjointed and rambling monologue, was nothing short of a spectacle. It's absolutely mind-blowing to see a former president so clearly undone by a political speech. The whole situation is just exasperating and disheartening. Watching Trump's disorganized and emotional response, coupled with the poor quality of the broadcast, makes me wonder, has he really lost control, or is this just another desperate attempt to cling to relevance? The disarray is simply staggering and underscores a troubling lack of composure and clarity.
She didn't talk about crime. She didn't talk about 70% of our people are living in poverty. She didn't talk about housing, really. The trade deficit. She didn't talk about child trafficking that she's allowed to happen. She's going to give a tax increase of 4 to 5 times what people and companies are paying right now.
It can be seen that Donald Trump's complaints about Kamala Harris's speech were a masterclass in distraction and exaggeration. It's amazing how he takes legitimate issues and twists them into a personal vendetta. Trump's criticism of Harris for not mentioning crime, poverty, housing, or the trade deficit is a blatant attempt to divert attention from the actual content of her speech. His accusations that she is responsible for child trafficking and would impose a tax increase 4 to 5 times what people are paying now are both misleading and completely unfounded. It's incredibly frustrating to see Trump exploit these issues to attack Harris while completely ignoring the core points she made. His hyperbole and fabrications demonstrate a remarkable disregard for factual accuracy and a willingness to manipulate the truth to serve his agenda. This pattern of behavior highlights a troubling trend. Trump's response to criticism is not to address the issues raised, but to counter with sensational and often unfounded claims. This is a clear indication of his strategy to undermine his opponents by creating confusion and fear rather than engaging in substantive discussion.
I think what he said on the Hollywood Access bus, what he said that he could do at any time would differ. So I really was struck by that. I know he says rambling things, and you said, hey, he was disturbed about the DNC. Just generally, Donald Trump is disturbed. I don't think we can say about the...
Let's take a look at Denver Riggleman's comments about Donald Trump, which are insightful and, frankly, alarming. His analysis of Trump's response to the criticism he has received is not only insightful, but deeply disturbing. The fact that Trump, in his signature way, would ramble on about women's safety while displaying a staggering level of insensitivity and ignorance is truly infuriating. It's impossible to ignore the obvious contradictions between his words and his actions. The references to his past, including his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and his disgusting remarks on the Hollywood Access bus, clearly highlight how aloof and hypocritical his statements are. It's ridiculous that he tries to portray himself as a champion of women's safety when his past actions and statements tell a completely different story. Riggleman's frustration is palpable and completely justified. How can any reasonable person, let alone a Republican or former Republican, continue to support someone who is so clearly devoid of reality and decency? Trump's inability to address serious issues with the seriousness they deserve, coupled with his irrational behavior, makes it increasingly difficult to understand how anyone can support him. His rambling and out-of-control responses reveal a deeply confused man who is desperately trying to cling to relevance, but it is increasingly clear that he is fundamentally unfit to lead.
A leader on IVF. So
He thinks we're stupid.
he thinks we're stupid, but what he also, I think, realizes that this issue, more than anything else, has cut deeper with American women. And in combination with everything you just said, makes his candidacy toxic for women and toxic for a lot of men.
Next, Donald Trump's recent tweets about his administration's commitment to women's rights and the Republican Party's stance on IVF are nothing short of infuriating. It's painfully obvious that he's desperately trying to clean up his image by throwing out grandiose promises and claims. How condescending does he think we are? The boldness of his statements is astonishing, claiming that his administration will be great for women, and boasting that the GOP is a leader on IVF, when his record on women's issues is marred by controversy and scandal, is nothing short of an insult to our intelligence. Trump's attempts to appeal to women with these disingenuous promises are glaringly transparent. It's evident that he's grasping at straws, trying to salvage a candidacy that has become increasingly toxic to women and many others. His blatant disregard for the truth and his manipulative tactics are deeply troubling. It's beyond annoying to see such a blatant attempt at deception, especially when the reality of his record and behavior stands in stark contrast to his claims.
The fact that he can't tell the truth, which is something that everybody should know, even the press. I think we're to a point right now that he knows he's losing. He has to try to recapture the message of pro-women after him bragging about destroying Dobbs, everything that he's actually been found liable for as a sexual assailant, everything that he said about women. Again, I think it just goes back to the fact that I do believe that women are the...
More specifically, Denver Riggleman's critique of Donald Trump is nothing short of a wake-up call. His observation that Trump is rapidly losing ground is profound. The contrast between the vibrant energy of the Democratic National Convention and Trump's feeble attempts to regain relevance is stark and disheartening. For me, Trump, in his desperate attempts to reclaim his pro-women narrative, seems completely divorced from the gravity of his own record. Someone with his record, bragging about his insensitivity, being exposed as a sexual predator, and making derogatory remarks about women, cannot expect to be taken seriously as a champion for women's rights. It's a farce. Riggleman's point that Trump is trying to recover lost ground by spinning falsehoods is both frustrating and disheartening. His attempt to present himself as a pro-women advocate in the face of his scandalous past is so disingenuous that it's so ironic. The reality is glaringly clear. Trump's repeated fabrications and desperate spins reveal a man who is out of touch with both reality and the electorate. The idea that anyone with a modicum of intelligence would support him at this point is simply baffling. Let's wrap it up. Donald Trump's behavior and responses have reached a level of absurdity that's hard to ignore. From his frantic rants and desperate distortions of reality to his pitiful attempts to clean up his tarnished image with hollow promises, it's clear that his grasp on the political stage is slipping. It's astonishing how he continues to undermine his own credibility with every erratic outburst and false claim. If you're as frustrated and astonished by Trump's antics as I am, you won't want to miss out on future analyses and discussions. For more insights and a deeper dive into the latest political developments, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you stay updated with the most accurate and compelling commentary. Join us as we unravel the truth and hold leaders accountable, because the more we know, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions.